time.
You mean Russian?
No, I'm talking about the 60s. I don't know. Like World War II would have been fresh in Gene Roddenberry's mind.
Yeah, but if we're talking about the 60s, it would have been Cold War.
Yeah.
So it would have been Russian.
Maybe the Romulans are Russian.
I think everybody who is not Earthling is Russian.
Probably.
That's true. But Gene Roddenberry was kind of above.
Was he though?
Shit like the Cold
He was
War.
a product of his time.
What?
Even if he was
What are you talking about? The Star Trek was all political. It's all.
No, I mean, but like
based around that.
it was all about like a better future and shit. So I don't think he was basing all the aliens off of one group of one super nation.
You know,
Anyway.
that.
Interesting.
Are you the Gene
Interesting
Rodden
theory.
brain? No, you're not. We don't know what he was thinking.
Let me tweet his son.
There you go. To be
All
fair,
right.
I don't know. Tweeting his son is really effective. I don't know if I could tell you what my dad is thinking about things.
That's true.
or
No, there's
was
a
thinking.
documentary by his son about how much he hates Star Trek. And he never appreciated his dad because his dad was never around. He was always working on Star Trek. And he was trying to learn how to love his dad who had already passed as him being an adult by investigating why people like Star Trek so much.
Kind of reminds
good
me of
documentary.
what's it called? Steve Jobs. I was trying to remember which Jobs documentary it was because there's two Steve Jobs documentaries.
Sure.
One is Jobs and one is Steve Jobs. I was
Yeah.
talking about Steve Jobs, the one with Michael Fassbender.
So it's
The
not
whole,
a
like,
documentary.
subplot.
I thought you
But
said
this-
No,
we're
it's
talking,
not
I
a
thought you were talking
documentary.
about these two, but you said documentary.
Is this about his kid?
Yeah, well, yeah, Lisa and how like that whole thing where he was just a total dick to her.
Yeah.
I watched that movie so many times and it's so good. You should watch
I've
it.
never
need to
seen
see
it,
it.
but I know the story. And it's like, Jesus, dude.
It's really
Gosh.
good. Like, and the way they culminate it, obviously dramatized and not accurate. Dramatized. What the fuck was that? Dramatized and not accurate.
English is a beautiful.
And,
See, I was going to say, that's exactly.
It's a beautiful language. Dramatized.
I think you're leaning too hard in a Dr. Jammer role.
I think so.
Dr. Jammer linguist over here.
I don't know how to mispronounce stuff on this show.
So let's talk about some actual news. Welcome
Yay.
to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. Jammer joined us midstream as Nick and I were talking about the season finale of Discovery and the ongoing Star Trek Picard. But we actually have some Star Trek news. In addition,
Oh, great. I can silence myself. I'll be right back.
You can fuck off again. So in addition to that, we're going to be reviewing Turning Red. And we've got like a ton
Adam
of
Project,
Star
right?
Trek, Star Wars news. Are we doing both? I didn't watch that.
Oh, I almost didn't watch Turning Red, but
No,
yeah,
I didn't
thought
wa- I did-
we
I did
said
not
we
watch it.
maybe watch both. But, well, we can do Turning Red. Maybe say a word or two
Did
about
we?
Adam Project.
Did we say that or did you say that?
I don't know. I thought we never decided for sure, and it was just like, well, watch both. Who knows? It doesn't matter. I've seen Turning
I'm
Red.
going to go to the Slack. You know what? While you're doing that, I'm going to go to the Slack. Let's see.
Doing what?
What do you mean what? I'm going to go to the Slack.
That's
We watching Turning Red this week. That's from Jammer. And I was
Oh.
like, yup.
I think yeah, maybe in person we said maybe both, but
I think you're just making stuff up. I'm looking at the evidence right now.
maybe I've been out of it.
I think you're just making stuff up. Jammer, were you listening to any of that while you fucked off for a bit?
I can see where the confusion lies. I think initially we said we were going to decide between the Adam Project and Turning Red.
Mhm.
And then we'd figure it out later. And then in that Slack, I said, we do Turning Red? And we said, yes. And I was like, awesome.
Okay.
Well, I watched them both, so set.
How was it? Thumbs
I
up or
did
thumbs down?
not. I did not watch the Adam Project.
Oh, you didn't?
I'll watch it eventually. No.
No, just you.
Well, I thought Jammer was at least watch it because you guys seem more interested in it than me. And like I said, I only watched it because of the podcast, and I liked it a lot. It made me cry because it's about father-son issues.
Okay.
So,
So that's a thumbs up. Would you recommend it?
yeah, it's not great, but it is more of a Ryan Reynolds movie than I like. The trailer kind of downplayed the Ryan Reynolds humor, which is
Okay.
there. It's a little bit more it's dramatic with not necessarily higher stakes, but more dramatic. So he Saldana's in it, which I didn't know, and I was like, get this woman a Star Wars. She's in like every sci-fi thing ever, and
That makes me want her not to get a Star Wars though, because like she's doing fine. She doesn't need a Star Wars.
I know, but it'd just be fun to see her like in every. She's Avatar,
is in
she's
everything.
Star Trek,
She's already in everything.
Yeah.
she's Marvel in space. But
She was in Pirates of the Caribbean. She's in like
I didn't know
every
that.
huge franchise.
Yeah,
That's the
she was
most
that
recent
one role that had like 10 lines in the first movie.
Oh, she was in the first one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know who she was.
She was the
back
one
then.
in one of the ship.
Oh, okay. I didn't know who she was until Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she was the one. She like punched him or something, or kicked
Yeah,
him
I
in the
remember
balls.
that
And was
now.
like, "You stole my boat."
but
Yeah.
the only last thing I'll say about Adam Project is the kid is fantastic, and his dialogue is obviously all written like it's a young Ryan Reynolds. He's really snarky, and like you can picture all the dialogue coming out of Ryan Reynolds' voice, and he does a great like cadence. He sounds
So
like
here's
Ryan
part of the
Reynolds.
reason why. The reason that he got the part allegedly is because he memorized all of Deadpool 2. And so he was able to repeat all of those lines. So it's a good thing that you like the Adam Project, because the director of the Adam Project has been tapped to direct Deadpool 3. So Sean Levy is going to be doing that. One of the things I found interesting about the story is I didn't realize this, and I probably should have assumed it. Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are the highest grossing X-Men universe movies, which is pretty interesting considering how people are just clamoring for more X-Men, and Deadpool
People are also clamoring for more Deadpool.
Just shy of. They are, but
it's one we want to see first. Most people say want to see Deadpool
like
first.
Generally speaking, I hear more people talking about Wolverine and wanting more of that than they do.
But that's because
Deadpool.
People are interested in who they would recast as Wolverine.
Disagree.
I don't know. Like that's the most interesting part of Wolverine to me is like, who do you get to follow Hugh Jackman?
Yes, to you. I'm saying I think generally speaking, more people are like more interested in the X-Men,
seeing the character
Logan. Yeah,
yeah.
That's just me. I could be wrong, but the dollars are definitely in Deadpool's favor. But anyway, there's no date on it, and the last time we got a Deadpool movie was in 2018. So it is nice to know that they are at least moving forward with this. And to throw in some other news,
my guess would be 2024 is when we're getting it.
Sean Levy's a great choice. Well, he also did Free Guy, obviously.
Yes.
And the reason
Real Steel with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, did he do that too? I know he's been directing for decades.
Sock'em Bock'em Robots.
He also does like the most episodes.
Is it Rock'em Sock'em? I don't fucking remember.
Rock'em Sock'em.
What did I say? Sock'em Sock'em?
It's Sock'em Bock'em. I don't know what the fuck you said. English is a beautiful language.
It is.
I was gonna say he also the Adam Project had a kind of an Amblin feel, and
it looked like
because he directed multiple. I think he's directed the most Stranger Thing episodes besides the Duffer Brothers. He's a big part of that world. So.
The other thing that makes that news kind of interesting though is so we have been trying to figure out what Disney was going to do with this property for a while, right? So there was concern about the rated R nature. Are they going to water it down? Now that they own Fox, how is that going to work? And so now we've got the Netflix Marvel shows on Disney Plus, and so there's less of
a parental
concern.
wall.
Yeah, there's less of a concern about that, at least from people. So now it seems like we probably are going to get a rated R Deadpool, and it's just going to be steam ahead, right? Full steam ahead. So I think all of that
we're getting Sean Levy.
What's up?
He also directed episodes of The Famous Chet Jackson, which is the best Disney Channel original show that is yet to show up on Disney Plus. I will say that.
Yeah, it was also
the lead actor commits
original movie.
He did like 5 years ago. He committed suicide, I think.
Yeah,
maybe that's why they haven't.
I don't know if I think makes no sense not to.
Yeah,
I mean, if they put Brink on there, they should have The Famous Chet Jackson movie. That was my favorite Disney Channel original.
What does Brink have to do with anything?
Wasn't Brink a Disney Channel original movie?
What does that have to do with Chet Jackson, though?
I don't know, because I actually like Chet Jackson more than Brink.
Welcome to the mind of Nick.
It was funny during his birthday a few weeks ago. There were definitely these random tangents he would go on that came out of nowhere. And all of his friends, I could tell, were just used to it. And I still am not. Where I'm just like, hold on, what the fuck are you talking about? And they would just like appreciated that I would be like,
come on, mate.
Stop the entire conversation because I need him to explain where he came from with whatever comment that he made because I did not follow.
It's just synapses are just firing in all different directions that make no sense. You've seen it on the show. Come on.
Anyways, I interrupted you, Jonesy. Do you remember what you were saying?
Probably. I was going to indulge the mind of Nick and talk a little bit more Star Trek. Did you shake your head? So we've got news coming out of the second season of Strange New Worlds. Before the first season has even dropped, they have cast a younger, I don't even know what the fuck to call him anymore. So there is a new James Kirk that has been cast. His name is, what was his name? Paul Wesley.
I don't recognize the actor.
So
They said what he's
he
from, but
has
I
been in a
haven't
few
seen it.
things. Yeah, he's been in things that I don't think any of us have really watched. Maybe Jammer likes Vampire Diaries, but he's also been in Tell Me a Story and History of Evil. That's the next thing he's going to be in. And so this kind of goes into that conversation that Nick, you and I were having about the Star Trek timeline. I feel like regardless of where they say that this show is taking place, they've kind of like expanded and contracted this timeline, because you remember the way they pitched Discovery when they were first advertised, it was like 10 years before all of this stuff. And then in the second season, now we've got Pike. And then if everything is flowing the same way, then that means that 6 years ish before that was supposed to happen, we're getting another version of Kirk already, Kirk in the Enterprise.
Well,
and
he
so
probably wouldn't have started as captain. He could just be on the con in that picture, or just the pictures taken to look cool. Like, like if number one Spock and Captain Pike go down to Earth, maybe he's the helmsman.
But the thing is, he never served on the Enterprise as Pike's anything, right? Except in that movie for like that 5 minutes. That was that, and that was in a different timeline. In the original,
they've never been clear about that, have they? Do they say outright that he took over as captain? I mean, because obviously he's not in the Gary Mitchell. I mean, the original pilot,
correct?
But neither is Bones isn't even in the second pilot.
Nope.
But it doesn't mean he wasn't serving on the ship somewhere and he wasn't that important.
I don't think he was. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. And then the other thing that they're doing with this series is they're also possibly going to introduce Khan Noon Singh, which also is problematic because there is
it doesn't work.
Another character named Laan Noon Singh, and they have not said what her relationship is to Khan Noon Singh. But the thing that makes it problematic is in Star Trek II, there was never any conversation with Spock about who Khan was or anything of that nature. Like, oh, I know his sister or daughter or whatever the hell she is going to be. And then you remember they made a big deal in Into Darkness, where they called old Spock, and old Spock had to be like, hey, this is who this person is. They're horrific. And so now it seems like in neither established timeline do we know who this character is. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that out. Canon is a hell of a thing. I'm not too stressed out about it.
Yeah, I'm not stressed out about it.
I don't really care. I do find it to be interesting.
I mean, we're in a different timeline in Picard only because of messing with the past, which is I do love they reference the Enterprise and they're like, we're gonna slingshot around the sun. It's like, but we don't have Spock. It's like, we have the Borg Queen.
We got the Borg.
We trust her.
It'll be interesting to see if they use. I'm curious if they are going to ever collapse these timelines. There's no reason to have multiple Star Trek timelines. And so they could either use this next Star Trek movie or they could use Picard to just collapse these timelines and go back to normal. Yeah.
And like, do I have multiverse? I meant Marvel, of course.
Yeah. So like, was it Secret Wars? What was the Marvel comic book where they ended up collapsing the universe?
Yeah. Secret Wars brought Ultimates in like Miles Morales and stuff, and Nick Fury. Well, no, they made Nick Fury black in the normal 616 universe long before they collapsed the universes, and they have some offshoot line about it somewhere.
It's like, who knows?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they swap people to look more like the movies all the time. It's not like they have to explain race swaps.
So it'll be interesting. And the fact that nobody from the new Star Trek 4 has any idea of what's going on. It sounded like even the announcement that they were making a Star Trek 4 surprised all of them, and none of them
on board
until this point have seen. They're all on board. They're all super excited about it. Chris Pine talked about how excited he was, but when this was first announced, none of them knew.
No, when they announced Star Trek 4, none of us knew when they announced a Star Trek film a few years ago, and we didn't even know.
No. I'm talking about in February of this year when they were like, "Hey, we're making a new movie." No one that is the star of that movie knew.
I know, I agree, but like even when they announced this,
back
when
agreement
I was still writing for LRM, I know that is a fact. But I remember they announced the Star Trek film, and they were like, "Will it be a Discovery film? Will it be an?" This is even after Tarantino.
They were talking about Tarantino. They were talking about Oh,
Noah
God.
Holloway.
Noah Hawley.
Yeah. So
Oh, I'm probably saying it wrong.
you are
Holloway.
Holly.
It's Hawley.
Jam-
Hawley.
I
Jammer,
know.
Read
I
it.
said it wrong again intentionally. Holly.
Phonics. Hooked on phonics.
English is a beautiful language. But yeah, none of the stars knew, and so we'll see what happens going forward. But
They can find
I
time.
think they could use one of these opportunities to fix the timeline.
They could find time to get Carl Urban on set. 'Cause, like, I think they're already shooting The Boys season 3 or season 4 later in a few months. He said this week. So
I mean, there's no way they're going to get this movie behind cameras or in front of cameras until this time next year at the earliest. So
it's supposed to come out next year, isn't it?
I don't fucking believe- I don't believe it.
2023 Christmas.
So
fucking
the
believe
Star
it.
Trek film, the hope is that they're going to start shooting in order to make a fall of next year.
Yeah,
release
that's not
date,
gonna
which
happen.
sounds insane.
For Mission Impossible.
That's
So
not gonna
December
which is already
December
in production.
22nd, 2023 is the date that they're looking at. I agree with Jammer. I mean, scripts. They said the
Don't
script
set a release date.
is currently being worked on. You got to set
Yeah.
a release date.
Yeah, but
no, it should have been done
not this far in
after
advance.
after all the hemming and hawing this franchise.
Right.
The script should have been done.
So that should have been the decision point, right? The decision
Yeah.
point should have been like, what are we going to do with this franchise? We don't know. We don't like what we've seen. Audiences didn't like what they saw. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Oh, here's a really good script. Let's do that. As opposed to, yeah, we're gonna, I don't know. I don't even know how you describe it, like brute force.
I mean, I don't
Another
mind
movie.
what they're doing. They just shouldn't have announced a release date until after the script was done.
especially
Sure.
when
That's
that's
all I'm
before Mission Impossible 8, which is in production.
Or before
like
they
how
could
you-
schedule all of the stars.
Nick measures things in Mission Impossible.
Well, because it's like they
there
announced
is
the
no
Star
reason
Trek
to
movie
associate that
No,
with Mission
it's Paramount.
Impossible.
It's Paramount, and they
Oh,
announced a
okay.
Star Trek movie that hasn't even been written that will come out before a film that's in production.
On a
Yeah,
scale
okay.
of 1 to 9 MIs, how MI is this? We don't know.
Well, I think we're only
I know.
getting 8, so 8 MIs.
Yeah,
You never know.
without a script, I feel like we are getting ghost protocoled. So, see, we'll see. Guys,
Sounds
ready
like
to
a
move on?
sex thing.
It is a sex
You
thing.
said
It
you
is a
just got
sex thing.
ghost protocol.
You just got ghost. You don't even say it. You just kind of like.
You
Well, I
blew
woke
into
up-
your microphone.
I blew all
woke up
right.
in a
I
funk.
blew all right.
So thank you guys. I'm already happier.
Yeah, that's good. It's these always make me happy, especially when I can fully concentrate and not feel like I'm constantly like work. What's
What are you
happening
talking
at
about? You've
work?
been eating a sandwich the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's probably what made me happier. Nothing to do with you.
It's good to be back after missing a week.
You won't like me when I'm hungry. What? Guys, ready to move on to some Star Wars? Something Jammer can fully engage in?
Yeah.
I am
All
ready.
All right.
Engage.
So apparently Darth Maul has been cut from the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We're getting conflicting information about the rationale as to why. So Hollywood Reporter is saying that this is a creative overhaul of the project that had more to do with the fact that they did not like that it was hemming too closely to the Mandalorian.
They've said that in
Right,
the past,
the-
I think.
Who has said what in the past?
Haven't we heard that story like when they were still in the writing phase where they're like,
I don't know.
no, we're switching people and we're having all the scripts.
Maybe you know if you
redone."
let me finish the story.
Okay.
So they said that it was hemming too closely to Lone Wolf and Cub. And so it was basically Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out of hiding to protect a young Luke Skywalker. And they said that was too similar to Din Djarin and Baby Yoda. And they didn't like that. So Filoni came along and was like, hey, why don't you get you some Vader in there? And why don't you take another one of my Rebels era Inquisitors and stuff that in there? And while that's kind of interesting, the Dark Horse story out there, as reported by LRM like 2 years ago, was the fact that Ray Park's Instagram post is the cause of this. That there was speculation even back then that he was going to be cut from this project because he posted some very sexually explicit Instagram posts, some of it involving revenge porn that involved his wife allegedly, and things of that nature. Like it was wild, kind of all over the place.
Really quick, at the time we reported that, we didn't know what he'd be coming in as. All we knew from our source was that they were planning to bring Darth Maul into the TV show live action
From
sphere
Solo.
in some way. It was following Solo, I guess. But following that, they were like, nah, we're not going to do that. We didn't know back then if it meant they'd recast Darth Maul or if it would be they're just not going to include Darth Maul. But now it sounds like this is more information on that front a couple years later.
I wouldn't surprise me if it was both.
Yeah.
Right. I think that there was probably a hint of, this is too similar to what we're already doing. Oh, yeah, we can't do with this guy anymore what we were originally going to do. And so we are hearing the sanitized version of the story. That it was just a creative choice.
I lied. So back then in 2020, we heard that they've decided to move forward with Darth Maul without Ray Park. Maybe that's changed since then.
Well, I just think
seems like it.
Even though, isn't his story already wrapped up with Obi-Wan? I guess it's wrapped up afterwards. I've seen pictures from Clone Wars.
I mean, you can
or
always
Rebels.
bring in more. You could always bring in more.
I guess.
Oh, you mean, is he like, I don't think he died in any of those.
Didn't he get killed by Kenobi? But it's gray-haired Kenobi killed him.
Yeah, he gets killed at the
Rebels,
end of Rebels.
By Kenobi.
And Rebels
on
takes
Tatooine,
place after.
Right before.
When does Rebels take place?
So Rebels takes place after Return of the Jedi.
No.
And wait.
After Clone Wars and before A New Hope.
Order 66. It's like right before that. That's the timeline.
But it goes farther in the timeline than Clone Wars goes.
At the very, very end.
Rebels,
huge
because
time
Clone
jump.
Clone Wars is between 2 and 3.
Oh, wait,
Rebels
no.
is after 3.
I'm having a moment.
Oh, shit.
God damn it.
I'm getting confused by Star Wars.
Rebels comes after. Yeah. Man.
And Resistance comes after Jedi.
I didn't even watch Resistance.
That's the one that's after Jedi. So I'm like,
here,
that
pulling
sounds
up
right.
the fucking timeline so
Thank
we
you.
can talk
I'm
about
struggling.
this intelligently. Rebels takes place before A New Hope.
And Obi-Wan takes place before Rebels, I'm assuming, because he doesn't have gray hair yet.
Maybe. But I don't know. We don't know yet. For
Well,
sure.
yeah, it has to because we've got a young Skywalker, right?
But
10-year-old Luke or whatever.
Did we see Skywalker in Rebels?
Yes. Oh, no.
We did.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Well, then we don't know then when it takes place, when the timeline is.
Well,
So
that's about 10 years before New Hope if Luke's about 10.
Okay, let's go back to the. Does he die? Does he kill Maul in Rebels?
Yes.
In Rebels specifically, 100% you're sure about that?
Yes.
So there is still possibility or there was.
This is before that. They
For
could
him
have
in
had
there.
another fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Just like Vader. Same thing as Vader. We know the other of them are going to die, but you're getting one of Star Wars' favorite big bads back.
Yeah. So it was just like, I think it happened on Tatooine as well.
Mm-hmm.
Took us a lot to get there, guys. We did it.
I know.
Like,
you know what? You know what happened in my head? My brain conflated Clone Wars and Rebels for like half a minute. They were the same show, and I was like, "Wait a minute, they're not. They're definitely."
It happens. It happens to the best of us and the worst of us.
And the worst of us, which is Danny, since he's not here to defend himself. Anyway, you guys ready to move on?
Wait, we're moving on. Oh yeah. So is that all the Star Wars news, or is that all we have to say about that particular?
That is. I'm sorry, I did not ask you guys what you thought. So that whole detour about what is the timeline. What do you guys think about moving on from Darth Maul? And it sounds like we're getting a replacement in Darth Vader.
I think it makes sense. Like I don't need Darth Maul. Like I just don't need him.
Whatever.
You didn't watch the cartoons though.
Yeah, I don't care.
I still wish we got more of him in live action. He was so wasted in the Phantom Menace. He should have been in that whole trilogy.
I agree. But it's been too long. It's just been. I just don't care. Let's do something new. Obviously,
what are you talking about? He was in
Vader's not new. That was surprising.
I know.
And
I know Vader isn't new, but I don't need Maul in my. And honestly, maybe you could save him for the eventual inevitable Solo spin-off series,
like a Kira series or something.
Like a what? Yeah, or Kira series.
Well, they're doing Lando. Like they have Darth Maul being Lando.
Are they?
He's the head of the Syndicate. That's one of the shows they officially announced, wasn't it? On one of their
I don't know.
I think it was. That was when I was most. It was the same time they announced like the Acolyte and like Obi-Wan and a bunch of other.
I don't remember Lando being a show. Hold on.
They even have a logo for it, but we don't know if
Is it called Lando? I hate. Okay, can we talk about how much I hate the names? The naming conventions are just
Obi-Wan Kenobi, Lando,
Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Solo.
Andor.
Yeah.
See, now you understand my confusion like 2 minutes ago of like, wait, are these the same show?
No, but they're just boring. They're just like the I have the same problem with the Marvel shows. Some of them, not all of them. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Too many thes up in that bitch. And then you have what is the one that Echo? It's just Echo. Like
They're
it's
all
just
that.
I know. I don't like that.
All the
I
movies
like
are that too.
I don't like
movie is just called Iron Man. It's not like
I
Iron
don't
Man
like it. I don't have to like it, Nick.
That's what the comics are called too.
So anyway,
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
I don't give a shit, Nick.
Yes, there is an upcoming show. There's an upcoming Lando show, and it's going to be a Disney Plus show. So the answer is yes. And this got announced 2 years ago. This is probably why you don't remember.
It got announced with everything else we're talking about.
Yeah. So actually, year and a quarter, not quite 2 years ago. But you know what? Pandemic time don't really count.
Jesus.
So while this is the end of the Darth Maul news, or Nick, did you have more to say?
No.
Okay. And the only thing I think I'll add to it is I'm slightly disappointed because I'm kind of tired of Vader as being like a boogeyman, and it would have been nice to get more expounded on in Maul in live action, even though we've gotten that. If you watch the cartoons, I feel like people who didn't get that are missing out. But
that's the only.
I just love the fact
I agree with that.
I agree with that too. I also two things. I still don't understand why Darth Maul turned on his lightsaber over the hologram,
because you wouldn't know he was otherwise. Like that was because it was a terrible movie. That is the answer. The answer is it's a terrible movie.
It's like,
that's always the answer. Anytime the words come out of your mouth that are like, why in Solo did they? Because it's a terrible movie. That's the answer.
Fuck you.
It's a garbage ass movie.
The other thing,
what?
I don't understand how Hayden Christensen is going to be utilized in this movie or in the show.
So
because
it goes back to Revenge of the Sith. He just wanted to be in a suit. He just wanted to be in a suit. He didn't care. It wasn't like you're ever going to see his face or hear his actual voice. I distinctly remember in Revenge of the Sith, he was like, I just want to be in the suit.
I bet they'll do a flashback or something.
Yeah.
He was one wearing the suit in that.
Yeah. In that awful shot, that awful scene.
Yeah.
But okay, so he'll be in the suit.
I think so. They have.
I haven't seen the show from it.
He'll be in the suit, and they won't use his voice.
Well, someone
there has
asked
to be
him,
flashbacks.
will you
right?
take the mask off? And I'm like, no, it'll kill him. And then he like does like a, I don't know, like a very suspicious like.
I mean, it won't kill him instantly.
That's true. I just remember the line in Return of the Jedi, but you'll die.
Well, because he's already injured
That's
for
true.
some reason.
Take it off.
Wheezing
and it's scarred
from the electricity.
That's true. He got zapped good.
Yeah, I don't think that the idea is that the being out of the suit would kill him instantly.
You're right, because he takes off the helmet in Empire. We never see
and then
his
he has
face,
that. He has that
his little egg.
Yeah, he has
his little harmonica.
He's got his little egg.
He's in the egg when they take his helmet off.
Yeah. So, anything else?
The egg in the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series. I want to grow legs and like
just call the show called Egghead. That's it. That's the name of the show. Egghead.
So moving on from speculative Star Wars
story.
news to more speculative Star Wars news. There's a rumor out there that Damon Lindelof will be doing a Star Wars movie. And so we don't know anything. Are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking your head?
Oh, I was waiting for you to finish before I said anything. You can continue expositing and then I can respond.
Okie dokie. So you'll know Damon Lindelof from are you still okay? From Watchmen, which is the last big project that he did. So if you're a fan of that, then hopefully we'll get to see more of that if this even actually happens. And he was also involved in Lost. Jesus Christ. Okay, what?
I'm waiting for you to finish. I am
don't
being
do visual
quiet.
things then that interrupt.
This is
a visual medium. I'm
this is not a visual
you shake
for
your
us.
head.
no, this is not a visual medium. This is an audio medium. So it means that you have to not acknowledge these things and just continue on. I'll speak when I've been, given
Your
prompts.
big noggin is too like I can't not see it just like moving, doing the east-west on my screen. Anyway, so yeah, it's a possibility that this individual who is a showrunner for Lost and Watchmen is going to be directing a Star Wars movie. We know no other facts about it other than that possibility. Jammer, what? What?
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Not that I have anything. I don't have anything against Lindelof. I think he's talented. I think Watchmen was amazing. I think Lost was okay, whatever. I never really got into it that much, but he clearly has talent. He also probably has a vision, and it probably, if it doesn't perfectly sync up with Star Wars, with Lucasfilm and what they want, he will join the many directors that have been cast to the wayside for having an overbearing vision that maybe does not fall in line completely with what they already want at Lucasfilm.
You think Kathleen Kennedy has like a Sarlacc pit next to her desk where she just discovers directors? Or no, we digested for 1,000 years.
Does she turn them in? Do we see robot versions of Chris Miller and Phil Lord?
That's who's been making all the Spider-Man movies and Mitchell's Machines.
Kathleen Kennedy controlled robots, and she can't even take credit, even though those are the good. That's better than the stuff she's making on the big screen.
I just think I hope at the very least that they've had these conversations and have like talked over. I hope they talked things out and have been like, hey, this is what we have in mind. Does your idea fall in line with it? Yes, it does. Here is why in a presentation it falls directly within it, and this is where this thing's going to go. And then they say, okay, we're on the same page. I hope that's what happened, as opposed to what seemingly happened before. It's like, hey, you're a successful filmmaker. Oh, you have a vague idea? Okay, yeah, fuck it, bring it on. And then later on be like, oh shit, we had to fire. We didn't think about this.
While I have similar thoughts as you about Lost, I do think that the vision for Watchmen was so strong.
So good.
Yeah.
I would be worried about that, but I am hoping that they have learned from their mistakes. Nick, what you think?
I just think it doesn't seem like they have a plan at all. I mean, the movies don't need, hopefully they're all in different time periods, they're not connected, but like,
what are we basing this on though? Like, they don't have a plan at all. Are we still basing this on?
Well, no, this is all a theory, because it's like, we're giving Taika Waititi one, and we're giving the Game of Thrones guys one, and now David.
On the movie front, yeah,
on the movie front, they're just like
sporadic.
Yeah. You get a Star Wars. You get a Star Wars. You're
a successful yet to see director. Anything from any of them.
The only one that even has a name is Patty Jenkins' one, which was in jeopardy for a little bit.
I think it still is, isn't it?
I thought she was back on
the Rose.
Yeah, it was.
She was not directing Cleopatra. Like, she's not directing Cleopatra. She's using that time to do Rogue Squadron instead.
Yeah,
because originally she was going to direct Cleopatra with Gal Gadot, her girl. But I wouldn't surprise if we saw in her Star Wars movie.
Maybe that'd be interesting. So we'll see.
So I mean, overall, I don't think you finished your point, Nick, because I just characteristically interrupted you.
I think most of these are not going to happen. They're just. I hope Taika's does, especially since Feige's
really
but he's also
hope
really
Ryan
busy.
Johnson gets his.
I don't think that's happening either.
I don't think it is either.
I think it's because he's actually more interested in other shit. Like, give me all the Knives movies. Give me Knives spinoffs. Knives TV
Honestly,
shows.
he's given us 2. We're getting one on Netflix later this year. Go back to Star Wars.
Well, they've already announced 3 also.
It's funny. Jammer has pulled a classic Nick Dahl 180 because he was like, I don't want him to make Star Wars. I want him to make Knives Out. I want him to make this. And now he's like, you know what? Go ahead, give me another.
Well, because I'm like, I wanted at least another Knives Out, and we got another Knives Out. It's coming. So I'm like, now you can go back to Star Wars and then go back to another original thing.
Well, no, because like I said, Netflix won the bidding war to get 2 of them. 40 million a piece or budget, but they paid a lot of money for the rights to the
40 million. That's it.
How much the first one cost?
Did it? That sounds about right.
Super cheap.
Most of the budget's the actors, especially the first one. It's like they have like 3 locations.
Just standing around a room talking.
Yeah,
a really fancy room. Who's I talking
real house.
to?
It was somebody's house. Yeah,
we talked about it on here. My friend, his girlfriend's family owns that house.
See,
we talked about that.
Yeah, I remember that.
See, you're all shocked.
I was like, that sounds
$40 million.
And there's lots of pictures like behind the scenes. They're not like sitting in studio chairs. They're all like sitting on the staircase or whatever between scenes.
Hell yeah.
Cheap
Love it.
filmmaking, gotta love it. You don't need
Gotta
$100
love
I mean,
it.
it's
for
not
everything.
cheap. I don't know if it's cheap,
40 million is very low for a movie that like has
No,
Chris Evans and
it's-
Daniel Craig. And
but I mean,
the first one they didn't know would be a hit either.
They fucking crank out a bunch of freaking mysteries, the freaking what's it called, Sykes, for like $5. You know,
NCIS.
every other year.
But
So
like, if you compare it to like Death on the Nile, that movie is like there's so much unnecessary CGI in this film.
Look at
That
that
had to have
CGI
cost
fish.
more. Yeah,
and the budget on that
Crocodile.
was 90 million, significantly higher.
yeah. See, like,
But I mean,
think-
the difference there is that is like spectacle on a different level, where it's like they're in a different location and also not grounded in
period
the
piece.
modern day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those add to the budget significantly. Plus the cast, as well as just as big as a Knives Out.
Plus, they had to CGI over Army Hammer.
They had to what's his name? Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
reshoot.
Yeah.
They had to space him. Spacey E.
I never actually saw Death on the Nile. Was he still prominent in that movie?
Yeah, it's a complete joke. Yeah, he was. I think Nick and I think I said to Nick, like, I am surprised that they didn't do anything. They're just like, whatever, this is the movie.
Well, I thought they were gonna hide it. His first scene, you almost never see his face. The dance scene.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie, he's just like one of the main
That's some
characters.
really, really weird accusations that came out about him.
Yeah.
Really bizarre. It's so weird. It's really fucking weird.
I shouldn't be laughing. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You guys ready to move on
Anyway, I'm ready to move on.
before I eat you all? All right. So we've got a Boys season 3 trailer. A couple of interesting
diabolical.
things about it. We got a story swap. Nick, did you read the comic book?
No, I just
Okay.
no. In fact, I've been given all the digital copies, but I've intentionally not read it.
Okay.
Because some of
So-
the stuff is going to be the same, even though most of it's going to be different.
So here's something that's slightly spoilery, but you've seen it in the trailer, so it's not that big of a deal. We get a reveal that Butcher now has superpowers,
And it's Huey in the comic, right?
It is Huey in the
I did
comic
see
book,
that.
so that's the swap. So it'll be interesting to see if they swap that entire storyline around and how that's going to work. But we get to see Huey. I'm sorry, not Huey, but Butcher shooting lasers from his eyes. And we get to see him display what appears to be super strength as well. No indications whether or not he can fly, but we'll undoubtedly get to see him fight Homelander at some point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is interesting though. It reminds me of Zemo when he gets the vial, when he has all of them.
Yeah.
There's a moment where you're like, oh, is he going to break his own code and take it because he hates like super soldiers and he just wants to eradicate them, and then he doesn't.
Right.
This is kind of like Billy Butcher being like, to kill soups, I guess I have to become a soup,
Right.
which just seems weird after watching Zemo be like, nah, I'm not going to take the power. I'm going to destroy the power.
It is a very similar storyline, and it goes to the whole question of absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So Homelander is basically a god, and the idea that Billy Butcher thinks that he would behave any differently if he was also godlike will probably definitely be the crux of at least part of the season. We also get to see a redo of the Kendall Jenner Pepsi advertisement. So A-Train starts out this trailer where he stops the police fighting from protesters, and he has a sports drink that he is selling. And so it's just like lampooning Kendall Jenner for her weird and horrible ad. Did you just pop some A-Train drink? Is that what you?
No, it's
Is that what you were just drinking? Just a Sprite. Okay. All right. Is that Pepsi Corporation, or is that Coca-Cola?
It's Coke.
Sprite? It's Coke. Okay.
7-Up
I
is
don't remember.
Pepsi Cola.
I don't remember.
Whatever the company's name is.
So yeah, it's a really fun, if not late, because that was years and years ago at this point, but it was very funny. And one of the other reveals, we finally got to see Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy. So he is the Captain America parody. And I did not finish all of the comic books. I know some stuff about him, but not his entire storyline. So it'll be fun to see what Jensen Ackles is able to do with his character, having seen some of oh my god, what's the name of the show that just went off? Supernatural.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything, but God, his costume's cool.
Yeah.
It's very like they even changed it enough so it looks even more like the Captain America MCU suit. But the helmet is so cool. And there's lots of musical numbers in the trailer. Like more than one. People are like dancing and I don't know. It looks great. And then it's the first time we've had a release date, right? June 3rd, I think.
Yes. So we're finding out about that. And also the other thing, what I do recall about Soldier Boy, like it was not a particularly big storyline. I don't even think he was the original Soldier Boy in the comic book. So they basically did the Marvel thing where it was like while Steve Rogers was in ice, there was somebody else that took over the mantle. But this appears to be the same guy. So they're doing a little bit of moving and shaking with these storylines, which is fun, right? For people that have read the comic books, they get to experience something different.
Well, like, isn't in the comics Black Noir like a clone of Homelander or something?
Yeah. Yep.
They're obviously not doing that, which is a smart decision.
I don't know that they're not, right? Are we sure?
Well, he's black. We know that for sure.
Do we?
We've seen him burned and stuff, and his suit was burned off enough that and the actor who plays him is black. It is always the same actor. It's not like unless there's a stunt.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
We'll see.
But I will say, when they announced Soldier Boy, I was like, that could be a very interesting conundrum from Homelander if he starts getting more attention. I don't know why he's back or where he's been. Like, I don't know if they froze him in ice too or something, but I almost see it being Homelander, or maybe they're bringing him back because they've lost so many Seven members, and they're like, "You're part of the Seven." Homelander being jealous of him being the first superhero, and him becoming like super popular again.
Okay,
but lots of blood too, heads exploding. Oh, I did watch I've now seen the first 3 episodes of Diabolical.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Justin Roiland one, man.
Which one was that? Oh, was that the revenge one?
That's the revenge one. I didn't notice that was the one until I heard his voice. I'm like, why didn't I recognize the animation style? He's like, I'm papers. I can make papers, but I'm not good at sorting papers. And then the first one's still my favorite so far. Basically the Roger Rabbit one. And I even love they put the little details of like it's an old piece of film, since all the Looney Tunes we watched as kids was from like serials that were done like decades before we were born and just thrown on TV on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoy it. I
didn't had a great ending.
Which one?
Oh, the first one. I was so afraid that I won't say anymore.
Don't spoil it. Yeah, it's fun. Anything else to say about the Boys trailer?
It looked awesome. I was already excited. I have a lot of trust in them. Haven't they also announced that they're getting pretty close to starting the spinoff about the basically the Academy, for like a parody of the X-Men, the Academy for teenage soups?
I heard something about it, but I did not look significantly into it.
They've actually in canon referenced it already, because they have those like VOT, like fake news stories. Have you seen any of those? They put them up on Twitter where they have like it's like VOT news, and it's Fox News obviously, and it's owned by VOT. And they even had Huey on at one point because he's working for the senator or whatever, and they're like, "Why do you hate soups?" And like they're like grilling him, and he's like, "No, we're here to work with the soups. That's what this division of the government's about." And he's like, "Well, why are you brainwashing the people?" And it's just like cutting him off. But in that they have a news story where they're like talking about, and the new recruits for VOT Academy are being picked this week or something like that. And they even showed like a sign for a school.
That's totally missed it.
But there's been a few of those. I haven't watched all of them, but if they pop up and I see them, I usually don't watch them all because I'm not willing to sit down for a 7-minute video on Twitter. I'm on Twitter to smoke and just scroll.
Nice. What else we got? So there isn't too much else in the way of news, unless you wanted to talk about any of the other stuff. Anything?
Weren't there a few trailers since we recorded last?
So the only other one that was big that I recall. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. So Ms. Marvel.
Oh yeah.
Was the other big one.
I do.
I'm still skeptical.
My roommate who had only watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki, and he watched them because he liked the pitch meetings for them. So he actually knew most of the details. He's just like, I want to watch the Marvel shows now. Actually, we just started The Boys this week, but which isn't a Marvel show, I know. He's like, it looks like it's for kids. Why none of these have been like just for kids? And I'm like, I don't know. I think adults will enjoy it, and it's kind of like Moon Knight's mostly for adults, especially the latest footage we've seen. I wouldn't show my kid that scene if I had a kid.
I stopped watching trailers. I haven't watched anything else from Moon Knight.
No, all that's been is a trailer, and I watched. There's one clip. It's just the clip in the hallway that we see partially in the trailer.
Oh,
but it's like a 30-second clip of that. It looks really, really dark and scary. But they're kind of, they're like, oh, and then we have a more kid-friendly one to follow it up with. I don't know. It looks better than I thought it would. And even Kyle thinks it looks good, and it's hard to make Kyle. He was very much against the character and the show existing.
Yeah. One of the things I find interesting about this show is they seem to have swapped up some of her stuff. So in the comic books, Kamala Khan is an Inhuman. Yep. And it seems like in this, her powers come from her bracelet, and they seem decidedly more in line with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And then they do, with her original comic book power set. One of the things I saw somebody say, and I'm curious whether or not this is true, they were trying to differentiate her from Reed Richards, who they're about to introduce. Do you have any thoughts do you even care that they have swapped up her powers, making them look slightly more cosmic?
No, I kind of actually like it, even though she's really cool in the comic book and even the Avengers game, because her power, I like that she can like basically web sling with her arms or increase the size of her fist and stuff. That is cool in the comics. But I actually think they changed so much in the MCU anyway. I think making her more in line with cosmic powers will play into the Marvels better. Captain Marvel 2, of course, it became the Marvels because we're also expecting to get Monica Rambeau in it. And they all have cosmic type powers. Even know each other. Yeah. And obviously she's a Captain Marvel fangirl. Miss Marvel.
Yeah. So we'll see. One of my friends, I think what she said to me was that she thinks it'll be a good show for teenagers because my initial reaction was meh.
Yeah.
And she basically said the same thing, that not that she thought that it was for kids, but basically that it would be good for teenagers. And yeah, I remember my thought about that was that it has to cross over into the rest of the MCU. So it would be nice if they didn't try to limit it to teenagers or that scope, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's interesting. On a similar note, a lot of the people I follow, like, geeky critics have gotten their screeners for Moon Knight, the first 4 episodes. They're loving it. And one guy was like, they're absolutely correct when they say it's not. Obviously it is in the MCU, but they're like, it depends on nothing. It ties into nothing at this point. It's just, it is its own show that like doesn't have to reference the Avengers. He said like there's Easter eggs in there, obviously, but the story itself stands completely independent of anything that's happened before. Or like we're like we are in a different corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe than we've been in the past. Especially since every show they've released so far has has starred characters who have been in the movies.
Right.
And this is the first one where it's like, hey, we're doing a character that hasn't even been referenced yet.
See, it seems unrelated until we get that Blade voiceover at the end.
I do expect them to cross over with Blade.
I want to talk to you about the Stabby Initiative. Or whatever they end up calling it.
The Pointy Initiative.
Yeah, the Pointy. There you
vampire.
Go. The Fang Initiative. I don't know.
Project Fang.
Something. Project Fang. That's a good one. I like that. We're keeping that. That's what's going to happen.
Project Fang.
Okay.
Expand.
So the last bit of news we got is, so we've got Rich Moore, who is filmmaker behind Zootopia and Wreck-It Ralph. He signed an exclusive multi-year deal with Skydance. So Jeremy, you thought that was a particularly interesting story. That's from a press release from Skydance. Explain to me why you care so much about Rich.
You know, well, first of all, Rich came from Disney. Do you know who runs Skydance?
No.
Nope.
John Lasseter.
Oh, I had
So
no
John
idea.
Lasseter, yeah, as you may know, he quit Disney as sort of the head creative person amid a scandal,
Yeah, I was like,
accusations,
quit.
and went over in 2019, I think it was, signed a deal with Skydance to become the head of creative over at Skydance, and has been hard at work doing stuff over there. I know some people who are hiring people over there, you know, a lot of animators, a lot of talent.
Mhm.
And it's just interesting to see him bringing over some of that Disney talent. It's really interesting to me because I know at the time he was very much, you know, he was the head of both Pixar and Disney Animation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
Yeah,
he was basically the guy spearheading both of them. And I think that kind of led to a really sort of samey kind of feel to a lot of those movies. Not necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, it just felt very consistent. And I knew it was going to be interesting as the years went on to see how, now that they have different creative leads, one at Pixar and one at Disney, they're no longer the same person, how they're going to branch off and have form different identities. So I just thought that was cool. But yeah, it's interesting that now we're heading over to Skydance with some Disney folks. I wonder if there's going to be any others that will follow soon.
Has Skydance put out anything
animated?
as far as
not yet? Not yet.
Okay.
Because
no.
as I
it
brought
opened
up,
its doors. It opened its doors with John Lasseter basically running. So
because bringing it back to two things Jammer hates when I bring up, the main time I've seen their logo are Mission Impossible and Star Trek. They seem to produce a lot of stuff alongside Bad Robot.
yeah,
And they seem
they
to
have
do
in the past.
mostly Paramount films. Like I see the name on Paramount films all the time.
Such an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I didn't know the context of it, that it was run by John Lasseter. So that he's recruiting
Yeah.
Disney people. And to your point about them being samey, Disney and Pixar, you know, I confuse them all the time. Which one's actually Pixar? And you always like, that one's Disney. I'm like, oh.
It's very clear, Nick, even though I know deep down sometimes it's not clear. Like if the Disney movie doesn't have music in it, it's kind of hard to tell which is which if you're not following directly studios.
That's true. That's probably the main
makes
differentiating factor. A lot of musicals over at Disney.
But yeah, like Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia, Big Hero 6, like I could see those being mistaken for Pixar movies. Anywho, I thought it was interesting. I don't know enough about what happened, you know, regarding John Lasseter. I know it sounds like he had some sexual misconduct and he was very sort of handsy and kissy and stuff, according to accusations. You know, he's claimed he is regretful and all that. You know, I don't know where I stand personally. It's always hard for me to get on the bandwagon when it comes to sort of canceling folks without full knowledge. But obviously, I'll never have full knowledge because it's like, so it's easy to be hypocritical about who I stand behind and who I don't. And will I not see a Skydance movie? The problem is, I'm like, yeah, I'll probably see it because John Lasseter is a really good talent. He's bringing in great talent, and I know there's lots of animators who you know fucking just need work and want to be able to express themselves. And I'm like, I don't want to punish them because of a guy. Like they don't have the luxury of saying no to work. A lot of them.
It's harder to tell with this kind of situation what's true and what's not versus someone posting something on Twitter that gets them canceled, because that's just obvious. You know, it's like, oh, there it is. There's the reason it exists physically versus he said, she said, or he said, or whatever the hell.
And I think it's very clear that he did do stuff. And it's like, I don't want to encourage that either. So like, I don't know. I don't have a solution. It's just all bad. But at the same time, like there's a lot of great talent there that I'm curious. And I want to see what kind of stories are being told and how it further differentiates itself from Pixar and Disney.
Be right back.
What's that? What just happened? I missed something.
You were talking and Nick farted, and I was like, I heard that. I gotta go. I'll be back.
I was like, what just happened? Did he just go to take a shit?
And the worst part is he's gonna miss the thing that I was gonna say, which is Lasseter admitted to making quote unquote missteps. And I feel like in in the face of accusations where somebody's like, hey, you sexually harassed me, and the person's like, you know what, I made some missteps. You did the thing. That's just my experience and how I would look at it. So I wouldn't talk about it in terms of my relation to what he allegedly said or did would be less Twittery and more like, oh yeah, okay, I see what's happening here. So in terms of canceling, we've talked about this before. I'm not sure. I think that there is such a thing as cancel culture. I do think that he faced consequences for what he did. And the only question that I would have at that point is, what was the extent of his conduct? If he's touching people inappropriately, that's assault. And it would be nice if there were further consequences based on that. But in terms of administrative action that could happen, he got fired, right? Or quote unquote left, or whatever needs to happen. Like
he got fired.
He got pushed out of the studio. And I think that is, those are consequences. The problem is, Jammer, to your point about you don't want to punish the people underneath them, like that's Skydance. And there is a problem with taking these toxic people and just moving them from studio to studio.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily punishing those people underneath them. You should be vocal towards Skydance about saying like, hey guys, that's not cool. So,
yeah.
But then the other part of that question is, what is the appropriate punishment for that behavior? Do you then never get to work in the industry again? Do you have to, is there a mea culpa? Is there something like in a civil suit, do you have to pay? Those things, I don't know. Those are above my pay grade, but I think at the very least, at least Skydance owes something to the people that are going to end up working for him. Because you say, I don't want to punish those people that work for him. I have a concern about those people that work for him if he repeats this behavior.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I also hope that, who knows if it's the case, like I like to think that he actually took this stuff to heart, and maybe like if we go to those people at Skydance, they'll be like, oh yeah, he's actually taking these steps to make sure that he doesn't repeat his behavior in the past. I don't know, but that'd be nice in an ideal world, because I am somebody who thinks that, okay, if someone could get second chances, then again, I don't know how horrible the things that he did were specifically. So I don't know is what I'm saying. It's never easy.
Yeah. That's what we'll say.
It's my cop-out answer.
That is a very cop-out answer. And in light of your cop-out answer, we're going to move on to turning red. Since you're clearly turning red, embarrassed by your lack of conviction. You guys ready to talk about and review a movie?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Kite Man. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So,
that
turning
was
red.
a piece of news. Sorry.
Was
it's
it
a spin-off
Yeah,
show.
Sure it is. So Turning
Too
Red
late. It's too late.
has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Fortunately, it does not have a cinema score. Why? Because it decided to forego the theater experience and release exclusively on Disney Plus. We kind of talked about this before, and I'm kind of trying to decide, do I want to bring it up again? But I have a concern that it seems like the Black, brown, female-led projects are the ones getting dumped on Disney Plus and skipping the theater.
I didn't think of that. I was they're doing Pixar dirty, but that's even worse.
Well, so Soul,
Yeah.
Black Widow, Turning Red, and what was the one we hated?
Luca? Did you hate Luca?
No. So there was Mulan, and then there was
We had Mulan. Artemis.
What's it called? I know you.
no.
Artemis Fowl.
No.
We really
No,
hated that one.
Fuck you.
No.
He said the one we
Raya and
hated.
the Last Dragon. Raya and the Last Dragon.
Thank you. So we just have a glut of projects where they're just like, yeah, these are the dumping grounds for these.
But
Even though they're
theaters,
good.
They're still doing stuff like in
Raya's
Encanto
not good.
and stuff.
No, right.
Encanto was released in theater. Encanto
Yeah, that's
was
what I'm
released in
saying.
theaters.
Like they're not.
Yeah.
That's the only counter argument I'd say to it.
Yeah.
That's a very cultural movie, like a culture that we don't see a lot in the past in movies, delving into civic.
Yeah, so you found the one. You're like,
yeah,
if not this one. Like,
to be fair, and not to be fair, Onward was dumped on.
No, it wasn't.
Disney
it was only
Plus.
dumped when it failed in theaters.
Oh, that's right. It just and it was only because the pandemic was just starting.
Yep.
So that's a completely different case. But
yeah, so
that's one with two white dudes.
I find it to be very interesting. But anyway, Maylee is a 13-year-old girl who is torn between being her mother's obedient daughter and the chaos of her youth. And as if that weren't enough, she gets too excited. She turns into a big red panda. If you recall, Jeremy and I talked some about the controversies surrounding the reviews coming out for this movie. I don't know if you don't want to belabor that point again, right? We're on.
I do actually.
Do you? All right.
I've actually seen more reviews generally from very samey people. Generally speaking, white men with beards.
Beards is a nice touch.
Yeah, no, seriously, white men with beards.
I just called them white men. I didn't notice the beard thing. I haven't watched any of these. I just know they're terrible.
But like, the beard is important, right? You notice how you're beardless? That distinguishes you from the horrible white men.
I'm not looking to demonize them in any way. What I'm just saying is that there's an interesting trend that pops up is you have these people who feel like they need to relate either by sex, by culture, or by location with a character. If they cannot identify with one of those three things, the character is not relatable to them. And I think it really just goes to show just how much a lot of these people are just used to by default being represented in media. And that's like, it's a prerequisite at this point for them to engage with a piece of media. And it's just frustrating now to be like, oh, the second that any of those things are gone, it becomes a sort of cultural limitation.
It's alien. It's
an alien thing to them. And it's just like, Brandon and I have had to deal with this our entire lives. Like we've had to, relate, quote unquote, with white characters on screen our entire lives. Like that's not something we have a hard time identifying with. And it's just so interesting to see all these people like who aren't used to that being like, oh, I can't do it. I just can't. And these people are just too different.
The underlying problem with that I always see is like, we have to relate to these people as though they are human. And so then my question is, what is it that you don't see in their humanity that allows you to relate to them? Because they're all human stories.
Is it more of a cultural thing? I haven't looked deep into it. I assumed it was the idea of the metaphor of the movie.
It's all the above.
Going through a young girl going through puberty is the part where they're like, ew, like I can't relate to that.
No,
But as I watched the movie, I didn't realize how culturally like Pixar and
no. So the guy that kicked us off when he talked about it being exhausting, he was very explicit. It's weird because it wasn't the panda thing.
That's why I thought it was.
No, he was just like, oh no, it's just so hyper specific. These young girls, teenage girls, Asian girls in Canada. Like that's the thing that I'm having a problem with. Not
he said specifically. His quote was, by rooting Turning Red very specifically in the Asian community of Toronto, the film legitimately feels like it was made for Domi Shi's friends and immediate family members, which is fine, but also a tad limiting in its scope.
And yeah, we watch Canadian actors.
Wait, but you forgot about the exhausting part.
No, I'll get to that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like
he says, the target audience for this one feels very specific, very narrow. If you're in it, this might work for you. I am not in it. This was exhausting.
Man, it's also a kid's movie.
So hard.
But I'm sure he doesn't complain about other Pixar movies or more.
And
I'm sure he won't complain about Lightyear. I'm sure he won't be complaining about that one.
On the flip side of things, you have people complaining about the period thing, saying this is a kid's movie. Why are they talking about these serious things? Why are they having these girls with actual, like sex drives, so to speak, and like those types of things? So it's like oh, it's a kid's movie, I can't relate. Also, why are you putting sex in a kid's movie? And also, this is too adult for a kid's movie. It's just like you can't win. It's like either too adult or not adult enough that I can't relate to it. Like there's no winning, and it's infuriating.
And then when Lightyear comes out, they're gonna be like, "That's right, white man in space fighting alien robots." Chris Evans.
We'll see. But have you Have you belabored it enough? Have you gotten that off your chest?
Nick, do you have any perspective, Nick, on this? I'm curious to get the perspective of your demographic. Man. Yes.
the unbearded white man who can't even grow a beard.
On behalf of your entire race.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, white men have always been terrible and still are.
Like I said, I don't want to be act like these people are, I mean, the worst people in the world.
You're talking about are just trolls, internet trolls.
No, they're not.
They're
trolls.
Not. They're legitimate Rotten Tomatoes
certified reviews. And it all comes back
angry people shooting YouTube videos, not like.
I mean, yeah, they're not angry. They're just saying, I just don't relate to it. They're have normal reviews, and I have lots of people going hey, I agree with you. You shouldn't be forced to say this thing. And it also goes back to what we talked about this last week again. Brie Larson saying years ago that she doesn't care about a white man's review about a story aimed towards a specific demographic. And this really just highlights how it's the critics are not diverse enough that they can't really speak to these specific things because they can't relate to it. It's silly.
Again, I will speak on as the president of white men. I will apologize for
Joe Biden,
NAAWP.
I will apologize for my people's entire history.
You don't need to apologize for anything. I'm just curious about your opinion.
I think it's stupid that people are obsessed with stuff like that. When I wrote you on Slack and I'm like, oh, I know why they hate it. It's set in Canada. Fuck Canada. I was joking, obviously. I mean, everyone's favorite actors, like Ryan Reynolds, are from Canada. It's don't freak out because you didn't you just say part of it is I can't relate. It's Toronto. Is that one of the more minor complaints? But it's still a complaint.
I mean, he said it was
lumped
an Asian community in Toronto.
Oh, whatever. I think it's stupid people are saying that, and I just didn't have any interest in it just because I don't watch most of the Disney animated stuff these days. But
yeah, you haven't watched a Pixar movie in how many years? I think you mentioned this on several occasions.
I've watched Pixar movie on Disney Plus. I think I've watched them all.
Oh, you watched them all now. I thought you hadn't watched
No. I've missed a bunch in between. I haven't seen Inside Out or Incredibles 2 or Brave or a bunch of those. But
have you seen Coco?
I still haven't seen Coco. It's high on my list.
That's how you know he's racist.
There's one with Soul? Songs yes, I love Soul.
Okay.
I think probably Soul is when I started watching them again. No, it was Onward. From Onward, I've been watching all the Pixar movies.
Did you see Soul? Okay, he's a black friend. He's seen black movies. Can't be racist. I've seen the black movie.
Soul's one of my favorite ones of recent years. That's how.
All right, Nick, calm down. Calm down.
I loved it. It was so sad. And they had Tina Fey for the white men.
I seriously cry whenever it is that arguing between him and his mom at the end. I'm like, oh my god. I feel it so hard. Anyways, so you haven't watched a lot of Pixar movies. You've missed a bunch. I was wrong. I assumed that you hadn't seen a lot of them since I thought Inside Out, but that's not the case. But yeah, you're not the animation person. You have a hard time relating to animation.
Well, I wouldn't say relating. I feel it's just.
Well, yeah, I don't mean that's great. Considering our whole conversation, that's it's a poor word.
I like usage. Adult animation. That's just
but not adult animation.
Stupid. You don't like family animation that much.
It's very weird. You have a very specific spectrum of animation that you like because you said you like adult animation, but there is a level of adult animation that you're not comfortable with as well.
No, that's true. That's true.
Where you're just like, I don't like those boobies.
I don't want to feel things.
This is appropriate. Yeah.
I don't want to feel things.
I don't like the way this animation makes me feel.
Yeah. So you don't like Roger Rabbit, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I've never actually found her. No, he's talking about Jessica Rabbit.
Clearly, I'm talking about Jessica Rabbit.
I never really did with her.
Interesting.
She's not realistically drawn. I know in anime they have big, luscious on high school girls. So bad.
Nick, do you want me to save you? Tell me what you thought of Turning Red.
I loved it. As someone who wouldn't have watched it otherwise. It was about more than I thought it would be about. I mean, you said it in the description, and I have never even watched the trailer for it. I thought it was just about the puberty part, which, it's fine to do that in a movie. I had no problem with that. The metaphor of the red panda. But what I really enjoyed was the other part of the description you gave. That's about a mother-daughter relationship of trying to be what your mother wants you to be and not disappoint her, while also trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
So that's what really resonated with me. And I like seeing different culture stuff. And it had an amazing Chinese cast.
Yeah.
Like, especially the old ladies. The aunts and the cousins or whatever. Like, amazing. Even Aquafina's, the character who plays Aquafina's grandma was one of them. And she's really, really funny.
I was like, Aquafina's in this? I got really confused for a second.
No. One who plays her grandma and Nora from Queens is one of the aunts or something. And she's hilarious. And Michelle Yeoh, is Michelle Yeoh the main?
No.
The mother?
That's Sandra Oh.
No. The main, the grandmother.
The grandmother.
Oh,
it is.
Is she?
Okay.
I had no idea.
I
actually don't know much about the cast of this movie.
What?
And of course, I recognize the old man's voice. He's someone you see a lot.
I didn't recognize it.
I don't know the name of the actor, and I'm actually blanking where I've seen him before, but you see him a lot.
Okay. One thing I do love, I love watching.
I know what I know him
Nick's,
from. He's from Seinfeld. Cartwright. Sorry.
I like seeing Nick's stream of consciousness when he was watching the movie.
It's funny, isn't it?
He says, it is obvious it was written by somebody who hasn't been in middle school since I was. Feels very 2000s.
I didn't know.
Very early 2000s. Had no idea. He's like, as far as the school experience and slang and kids are playing with, I mean, a camcorder, not a phone. Those little finger skateboards, a boombox, not an MP3 player. And I forgot the line, but she said slang no kids would say today.
And then, it does say 2002 at the end, right? Or like the Red Panda incident in 2002.
Yeah, I think you knew. I swear
I didn't notice. I guess at the beginning, I missed something about. They
I
probably
think
showed
they
a
say
calendar
at the
or
very
something.
beginning what year it is.
Oh, and probably in her opening monologue, she might.
I don't think she did.
I found her character really cute talking.
You don't think that they do, Jammer?
Audience and stuff.
I've watched this movie like 6 times. I don't think they do.
I think there's a cue somewhere at the beginning what year it is. I'm gonna find it.
It is at the very end. I mean, for me, it was the Tamagotchi.
Well, that's the thing. I actually still pack that shit at Amazon. People are still buying Tamagotchis because they're probably for kids who are too young to have a cell phone.
Okay.
Interesting.
What'd you think of the film?
I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was really on board immediately when she was dancing next to the logo and like raising the roof with her dances and just being really goofy. And I feel like it's a side of little kids or girls specifically that you don't see in big movies that often. Just sort of like just the super hyperactive ADD at age, 12 or 13. And it was refreshing to see, like the way her and her friends interact with each other. It just felt so genuine. And it felt like a perspective that you wouldn't have gotten if you had a male filmmaker either writing it or directing it. It would have been boys instead of girls. Obviously, it would have been a completely different story because, turning red and all that stuff. But like, it's just something I don't think we get that perspective of. It doesn't feel as genuine when it's in other movies that I've seen.
Okay.
Agreed.
Overall, I think it wasn't like, I wouldn't say top tier Pixar, but I'd say it's close to the top tier for me. I don't think it had, it's really consistently high in terms of how quality it is, but I don't feel like there was any points where it was just like, boom, where it took it to the next level for me. It was just very consistently awesome and entertaining. And it's very nice to have on in the background. And I think I could understand any criticism regarding the third act being a bit because of the direction, almost Marvel-esque.
It's very
that way.
Yep. Damn.
You know what it reminded me of more? It reminds me of anime. Kind of. Not.
Go on. Tell me all about the anime you've watched.
No, I mean just like the poofing and then like striking poses. They were more like.
Yeah.
And obviously the style is not. Yeah.
I was talking more about the structure and the story, not the style.
Oh. I love these. You're like, tell me about the anime. It's like, yeah, this. You're like, oh yeah, you're right.
No, I will. I want to say one thing before Jonesy goes. It harkens back to what we were talking about earlier about kind of them being samey, Disney and Pixar.
This felt less samey.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This actually looked, at least visually, it even looked more unique than the average Pixar movies, because sometimes those characters can start to look the same. And I really enjoyed the way they animated, especially the little girls in this one. Like, it was you could definitely just look at a screenshot and be like, oh, this is way different than Soul or Incredibles or...
The way they smile.
Yeah.
I think people, it's like, people call it, I think they call it, was it the bean smile? Because it looks like a legume, the shape of it. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of both two things. One reminds me of like Miyazaki movies, the way they're drawn, the way they laugh, and also Wallace and Gromit to a lesser extent.
Yeah, it's very extreme.
Very stylized and unique. Like you said, it felt like this one was made with more of a visual style that is just unique to a specific filmmaker and what they wanted, more than a lot of recent stuff from Pixar. Mm-hmm. Anyways, go on, Josie. You were going to speak and then we interrupted.
I did. Sorry.
That's cool. So correction. So the grandmother was played by Wei Xing Ho. That is the actress that played the grandmother, not Michelle Yeoh.
Who's she?
That's the grandmother.
No, but what else has she been in?
She was, I think she was part of the Hand in Daredevil.
Oh,
Madame Gao.
Oh, she's Madame Gao?
That's why I recognize the voice, but
yep.
God, I hope I'm not racist for picking the wrong Chinese voice actor.
You're always racist, even when you think you're not.
White man's curse.
Yeah. Got to keep you on your toes. So I really enjoyed the film. I thought from beginning to end, it was very engaging, very funny. I really enjoyed the departure from typical Pixar stylings. And I thought that the metaphor was very familiar to me because it was very Teen Wolf, right? Like that's what this most reminded me of. And so from that perspective, I really enjoyed it because my brain's ability to use that as a shorthand where it helped me enjoy the structure of it a little bit more. And as far as the final act, I get it. And I agree with Jammer that I understand the criticism of it, but I still enjoyed it because it seemed like we were always going to go there. It didn't seem like it came out of left field. There were mentions.
It did a bit for me.
Well, so
how big she was. How big she was, I think, is
they
what it was.
They talked about how big of a panda she was. They talked about, in that conversation. And they also have this like at the point where you get into those conversations, then you connect the scar on grandmother's face to that, and you're like, okay. And you kind of understand like this has to happen, just like it happened between the two of them, right? So grandma and Ming also had a very similar throwdown. And so that's how grandma ended up with that scar on her face. So I did not find it to be, man, I'm just way into spoilers. So I didn't find it to be jarring. Yeah, I didn't find it to be jarring. So I just really enjoyed it for what it was because I felt like they laid the breadcrumbs. Wow, the breadcrumbs early on in the movie so that you could see it coming. Language. Man, struggling. So with that said,
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, with that said, what are the specific details about this film that you want to highlight, Jammer?
Regarding that third act, I think it does have a nice little point there where you have the boy band Four Town singing the song along with that chant that they did in a way that was really satisfying, and it came together. And thematically, it also works well because it talks about sort of accepting, I guess, who you are as like, I guess, your origins, as well as who you are in terms of who you want to be. And I guess those two sort of meshing together into something that ultimately saved her mom. I think it's really cool. Also, I like in my head, I definitely am thinking, and this is just the type of person I am, like the town or the band Four Town. I feel like somebody wanted to call it Foreplay, but they're like, no, let's call it Four Town instead. And let's have them be 5.
I was wondering why it was 4 because there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But then Ming also said the same thing. So that just means you're getting old.
It's a joke.
My favorite joke is just the fact that it's a period piece.
God damn it. That's a joke you made by
good.
accident.
No, but I'm sure that was intentional.
No,
definitely intentional.
That's pretty good.
I don't think it was intentional.
Why
I
else
like it.
would
I'm
it be like
rolling
one of
with
their
it.
only period pieces? that
I'm
Pixar's
rolling with
done?
it.
Well, no, they
It's
do
not
a
the
lot,
only period
but
piece.
there's
Look
no
at
reason.
the kind of.
Now I
kind of
know
The
I'm brave
Incredibles.
and shit. I'm an idiot, but there's no reason for it to be set in 2002.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
there
you could
is.
tell the exact same story in 2020.
The filmmaker wanted to draw on her personal experiences, so she made it in 2002. She's, I think, our exact age.
Oh, okay.
Specifically, me, you, and Nick.
That's why I made the
Not you,
comment where
Jonesy,
I'm
'cause
like,
you're
it
old.
feels like someone my age wrote it. Didn't research.
Yeah, literally,
it.
she's literally our age. But yeah, so what else?
You really don't
specifically
think it's intentional? It's a movie about periods and it's a period piece.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
think it's intentional. I think you're fixating on that a little hard.
I thought it was their best joke if it was intentional.
It wasn't a joke. They never said it.
I know they didn't, but just like the implication.
I get it, Nick. I think you're wrong.
Sorry. I did cry during this, just
Where'd
like
you
Adam
cry?
Project. The mother-daughter relationship made me cry several times,
Can you name a specific point? I'm just curious.
especially
of,
at the
what-
end when when she's trying to help her mother through the like the forest and stuff.
Mm,
She's
yeah,
seeing
that was
her
a good
mother in a
moment.
different light, and then just their conversation right there.
I do want
I
to
think
talk about
that's-
the mom as well,
Yeah.
because I think the mom was handled really well in that you have this trope of sort of the Asian tiger mom, and I think they did a pretty good job of kind of having that trope, but
What's a
also
tiger
showing
mom?
her. What's that?
What is
Like
that
an
trope? What's a tiger
overbearing,
mom?
an overbearing mother who wants their kid to be the best at everything, to like kind of like a soccer mom, or not soccer mom, like a not theater mom. What is the word I'm looking for? Like
Pageant mom?
Yeah, pageant mom, except
Mm.
generally associated with Asian culture. Like that's a term given to that.
Okay.
That I've heard. Anyway,
Yeah.
we have that basic trope, but also they show her in a very loving way. It's very clear that it's not like a mean-spirited feeling like it often is portrayed. It was very much just sort of like she clearly forgot what it was like being a kid and being embarrassed by things, but it still seemed like it was all coming from a loving place.
Yeah.
And I never once felt like I doubted her motives, with the exception of the very end where she just kind of fucking lost her shit and was literally turning red when she was a giant monster. But apart from that, I just think they did a good job of really making the relationship, I think, really endearing and cute.
Yeah.
Agreed.
One of the things I really liked about this is coming from Bao. This is from Dumb Sheet. This is a very organic evolution of that story. So if you've ever seen that short, it is about a mother who is kind of grasping and trying to wrestle with, I don't want to say losing, but basically losing their child, right? Somebody that they've raised and has loved and cared about, and is now trying to grow up and be their own person. And I really enjoyed seeing what she did with a longer movie and a broader movie. So I thought that the analogy was really fun to watch, and I thought it was really funny, and it played out well on screen. And I did like how the parents were handled, and it was very interesting, the relationship with the father, where he I can describe this. He did not push, right? Like he very much let Ming do her thing, and he kind of stayed out of it. And I thought that was interesting.
With her.
Yeah.
I was like, what's so wrong about a? I love the joke.
He's like, maybe we
about
should
Celine
trust her.
Dion or whatever.
Right.
Where he's like, or she's like, there's not Celine Dion. Like,
$200 is fucking expensive. Jesus.
especially for back then.
For 2000s concert ticket? I mean, I'm assuming.
These days, you pay more for like
I mean, I don't know.
some certain
I don't-
people. They're hard to
I
get.
have been to a handful of concerts in my life, and none of them cost $200. I think they were like
Same.
$40 usually.
Yeah.
I don't think about it.
But I guess I haven't been to a boy band concert, which I guess the equivalent would be, something like One Direction.
You're
I don't
right.
know how
That
much those
is a lot
cost.
because
Especially considering where they were too.
yeah. Well,
Toronto?
especially
No, they were like up front. Remember?
Yeah,
They're physically like the equivalent of a mosh pit. What's the
They
what's a
should've- they
mosh pit
should've
for a
been-
boy band?
I mean,
so
a mosh pit.
$200 is a lot, especially
cesspool?
because the reason I was thinking that ticket prices are so high is because of the internet. No, I heard the story on
Talking
NPR that
okay.
it's
now.
Scalpers is what makes the ticket so high, but they actually did buy theirs directly from the Coliseum, so 200 does seem high.
Yeah.
Because usually you're paying like $700 or something because the scalper gets them first. And then you're like, fuck, I need to see that show. You know, like a computer program, even just go in and like buy hundreds of tickets.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it's $200. It's a lot of money, is my point. But I just like the way they were able to seamlessly kind of have the two plots, you know, the main overarching story having to do with her turning panda red thing, and then along with the main narrative through line having to do with the concert and how they sort of balanced each other well. I just thought it was just really well done how it just played in. And I like her friends. Her friends were really, really cute and fun. And I just liked the relationships in general in this movie. I just thought they were handled very, very well. And I related to it. Believe it or not, as a 33-year-old, not Asian male, related to it. And not from
America. Yeah, I was about to say.
From America.
Got to throw it all in.
Canada's in America. North America.
God damn it.
Like it was
any other things you all want to talk about regarding this movie? Oh, I like the little details too, just how the mixing of cultures, specifically like her heritage and then her obsession with pop culture, how she named like the two statues out front, Bart and Lisa, which I thought was funny. And just little things like that throughout.
New pop culture colliding with old culture.
Old
important,
culture. Yeah.
Like sticking to your roots, but also obviously you're growing up in a world with The Simpsons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't have too much else to say about it. I like that in the end, it came down to a decision about how she was going to live her life. And it was fun getting to see everyone else participate in as much as they could. But at the end, she had to decide whether or not she was going to live with that panda or not. And it was kind of fun. And I'm really curious what the rest of her life would be like
as a panda,
like having to deal with that, because they talked about the panda has a mischievous side. And I don't feel like we saw that really.
I think the implication
made her more mischievous.
I think the implication also is that no one else in their family had actually accepted that side of themselves before.
Yeah.
They locked it away. So to them, maybe it came across as mischievous just because they didn't embrace it. What I actually wish had happened, and this is a situation where it was fine how it happened, but how I would have written the story is I think the mom should have also accepted her panda side more, because I think that would have also really shown not only is it about the girl embracing herself, but it's about the mom being able to learn from her kid and continually grow as a person as well beyond that. I think that would have been great.
I thought that's what was going to happen.
I expected all of them to keep their pandas, honestly.
I didn't expect
like
them.
to learn from their granddaughter and like niece and stuff and be like, oh, like it's not a curse, it's a gift.
Yeah. I like Jammer just, and you said Nick as well. My expectation was that the two of them were going to keep it. So,
but I'm the guy who wished that everyone in Encanto didn't have their abilities at the end. So that's where I'm coming from.
Listen, all she had to do was not wipe her magic off on her hand.
She did not wipe her magic off on her dress.
Spoiler!
Did not happen.
For someone who might watch that movie someday.
You need to watch. You need to watch that movie, Nick.
Well, now you spoiled everything. No, I'm just kidding.
I really
it won't change my the speed at which I get to it.
Encanto is so fucking good. Still best movie last year for me. Still my favorite movie, I should say, last year. Encanto.
Yeah.
I've just recently been starting to hear about this popular song from it, which seems almost as big as Let It Go.
I
still haven't heard it, but people are talking about it all over the place, even like commentators on NPR, and it's all over Twitter. And I'm like,
wait, you haven't heard the song, but you hear people talking about the song? Or are you talking about?
I hadn't heard Frozen I had never heard Let It Go for like 3 years. I went 3 years.
Yeah, it's bigger than Let It Go. It's bigger than Let It Go at this point.
Is it? But officially, is it bigger than Let It Go at the time?
No, it's bigger than Let It Go, period. Like,
wow.
In terms of like number of plays and its rankings in the charts and stuff.
But we don't talk about it.
We don't. Nick doesn't know what that means. He's
like,
he's smiling.
Bruno. That's the name of the song.
Oh, okay.
I know the name of the song. It's the only reason.
I wasn't sure.
always doubting him.
I know things.
Anything else before we close it down? I feel like we close it down, right?
Yeah. What is your rating for this, Jonesy?
Hey, I
Nick.
thought it was yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. No.
None of the jokes fell flat for me, and I think that really mattered, and the message came through, and so I think.
Oh, how did your kids like it?
Oh, they loved it. So these little bastards, I went to get a pizza, and I was like, "Hey, we're gonna watch Turning Red when I get back." And I don't even think I said it like that. I just told them that it was there and we were going to watch it. And they said, okay.
Oh, so they started without you, didn't they?
I went to get a pizza. And when I came back, little like laughing upstairs, ha ha ha, hee hee hee. I was like, you little bastards. So
rewind that shit.
Well, so then I started watching it downstairs and they stopped where they were watching it, came down to eat the pizza and stayed through the rest of the movie. So that's how much they were enjoying. They basically watched it 1.5 times. In that first night. So
at that age, I figured you would just rewind it anyway, and they would have been into it.
Yeah, I would have been.
Not my
when
kids.
I was that age, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's watch it again." I'm gonna watch it again tomorrow.
Oh, your kids are fickle because I remember I got the Aristocats as a gift, and I watched it 5 times that same day.
Did you have an iPad?
No.
Did you have a Switch?
No.
Right, like I think it is a tremendous compliment to this movie, given all of the entertainment choices that they had. It's like, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're with us. We appreciate that. I think that given all of the entertainment choices they had in addition to their toys, the fact that they came down and watched it almost again just says a lot about how good this movie was, at least to them. And I enjoyed it just as much.
Interesting. Well, Nick, what were your thoughts? What is your rating for this movie?
I'll go A-. Probably
How
wouldn't watch it again.
Lowest rating one here?
Probably wouldn't watch it again, but I liked it.
Why wouldn't you watch it again?
I just don't rewatch. I don't know.
He doesn't like crying.
You don't rewatch. That is the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
No, you didn't let me finish the sentence.
He started coughing.
I didn't rewatch a lot of the animated, a lot of the Pixar movies, except for like I'd say Up and the Toy Story movies. I was much younger when Toy Story came out, so
you're gonna give it a B+, aren't you?
I think I'm gonna give it a B+. No, A-. I think A-.
No, you got bullied into giving it an A.
No, I thought about it. I said B+ and didn't feel right. A- felt right.
I wasn't gonna say B+ until Jonesy said A, and I'm like, he's right. I should go a little bit higher. A-.
That's not the reason I went higher. Just to be clear, it was more of a feeling of saying B+ didn't feel good. A- feels great. It is, like I said, it's a consistent high level throughout, but the peaks I felt like I wish were higher. And I wish it had gone the Pixar route and made me cry. It didn't make me cry, which is not a necessity, but it would have been nice. It would have been nice, but it's an immensely rewatchable movie for me. Like I said, I've watched it like 5 times.
We're going to get a cartoon. So Disney likes to do cartoon spinoffs of their stuff or into a series.
Oh, like a Disney Plus or even Disney XD, if that even exists anymore.
Maybe.
Like Betamax or whatever.
I seem like this is a very easy one to do.
I haven't seen Big Hero 6, even though it's Marvel and
it's not very good. It's not very good. I don't like
fine.
it.
Yeah, it's.
I hear there's a Stanley cameo at the end, so I've seen it.
I feel like of the things that they have done, this would be a very easy one to do.
I would want to. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch a TV show about it, but yeah, you could have the Adventures of the Red Panda.
Well, I don't like the way you pitched it just now.
Adventures of the Red Panda.
I think that there is a story and a mythology behind that panda that you could fold into a show. And so while she's discovering who she is, you get to also have this other mystical element to it with the panda.
Especially like,
I would also
the original
just like
person who had it flew up in the air with her.
I would also just like a nice slice of life show.
You could do both.
Grow up.
I feel like that is the same show.
You could each season they could get a year older. See a different year of school. Anyway, I've gone too far.
Harry Potter much?
Well, or Spider-Man recently.
Spooderman. All right. I feel like we can shut it down. So, dear listener, if you like what you heard, do all the socials, like, rate, comment, subscribe, share. We would definitely appreciate it. Also, LRM has other great content. Where else? LRMonline.com, as well as the Genreverse podcast network. Nick Dahl, where can you be found?
I'm at Nick Dahl on Twitter. And this week, Kyle and I finally recorded our Fantastic Four commentary. and the movie is way more enjoyable than I remember. Not fan forced.
Why do you say finally? You say finally. Finally, like
we've been
is there a
trying to do it
deadline?
for weeks. Like no, like last we were supposed to do it last.
No one knows
Wednesday,
that.
And I lost my cord. Well,
No
I'm
one
also
know-
saying
no one-
finally
Nobody
because
knows that.
we've been going weeks without a show.
But you're
When
like
usually
you're
we're
doing
weekly.
like you're doing like inside baseball stuff. Nobody knows that you
I just
are
want
struggling to
to
schedule. And
encourage-
like, there's no truth in lending here. No one
I'm
cares.
just saying,
You put
life
up
has gotten in the
content,
way,
people
and
love it.
we try to give you weekly shit. And we're going back.
You're
to that
talking
one
about like a what is it? Late 90s, early 2000s.
2005.
Yeah, it's fine. You're right on time.
Okay.
Jammer,
Thank you.
where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Jam the Writer and all my stuff under the name AJ Cerna on Amazon and Audible. And you can check out the whole City of Mages novel on royalroad.com, or at least the initial draft of it. We're going to be doing revisions of that. Going to be sending it off to an editor middle of next month, and then getting finalized from there. So we're approaching the end of this book, this journey, and I'm excited.
I hear it's good. I just don't know how to read. So you guys should check it out.
I don't know how you don't read. How do you not read? You should find a book that you like and read it.
I made
Do
it
an
halfway
audiobook.
through it.
How long
That's
have
a
you been
hard
halfway
one.
through it?
Years since the first movie came out. I'm not like I'm ever going back to it. I'm just saying that's the equivalent of reading like 5 books.
No, it's
It
not. It's the
is.
equivalent of reading one book. It's
Huge.
500. Yeah, it's 1,000 pages long. You read half of it. It's 500 pages. It's a book.
Too long to begin the training. Let's end this
You're
shit.
too old. Too old. Not
I
too
know.
long.
I did my part.
Training.
Y'all know where you can find me. Be there or be square. Until the next one, hasta lasagna.
Oh, Anya.
Mission